3 years ago, Heather and I were floating down the Grand Canyon. Well, it wasn't so much floating as it was screaming down the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon. 15 days, 225 miles with a group of fantastic women. And one of the things that we were told in our orientation was drink water all the time. Drink water all the time, even if you're not thirsty. Just keep drinking. And they kept stressing this. You may not feel thirsty, just keep drinking anyway. And they had this great water filtration system because we couldn't drink right out of the river because of Norwalk virus. And so they had this amazing system. Every time we camped, we took buckets out and it went through this filtration, and then we had water. And they brought powder, like flavored powders to make it more enticing to drink. I became a lemonade addict. And they had like Gatorade and all these flavors, and it was like, encouraging us to drink. And the problem is, naturally, I am not a thirsty person. I'm just not. I know everyone says 8 ounces, how many glasses of 8 ounces? 8 times 8. Every day, drink it, whether you're thirsty or not. And I'm not thirsty, and I don't wanna, and I'm stubborn. Aside from being stubborn, though, I'm just not thirsty, and I'm stubborn. So, I will say, though, that when I am thirsty, when that moment hits when you're like super hot or super tired, or you finished mowing the lawn, or whatever that moment comes, and that cool water hits your mouth, it's like the most indescribable sensation. It's like comfort and pleasure and relief and like a whole lot of words I couldn't find. It's very hard to describe. So thinking about that, I thought, all right, so what does thirsty actually mean when I say, well, I'm not a thirsty person? What does it mean? So, of course, I went to the dictionary. And there were several definitions that I thought were really interesting. The first, of course, is to feel or have thirst, as for a liquid. Needing moisture, as in soil, gets thirsty. To crave or desire eagerly, which is a thirst for knowledge, or in some cases, my case, other cases, that thirst for spirit, that thirst for God, that thirst for something deeper. And then an ardent, passionate longing, a thirst for more life, more good, more everything. And then I was thinking of a couple more, like on the shadow side, there's the thirst for revenge, or for fame and fortune in not a healthy way, that thirst for the moment, like all these reality shows that are on TV. These people are so thirsty to be seen. They just need to be noticed and seen and heard. And then when I have a new name for it. I'm calling it my passion thirst. And that's thirsting for purpose. What's my purpose? How do I connect with people? What's my reason for being? That's the new passion thirst. And the other thing I did in searching out this talk was I just Googled, I put in quotes about thirsty, which was really interesting. And some had nothing to do with thirst at all. I've learned this about Google. You can put something in Google and it'll be like, and then there's a train over here. And I'm like, I didn't ask about trains. I asked about thirst. But Anton Chekhov, the brilliant playwright, said, when you're thirsty and it seems that you could drink the entire ocean, that's faith. I was like, yeah, that wanting everything. And in Psalms 42, as a deer longs for flowing streams, so my soul longs for you, God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. And that was attached to St. Teresa. That was something that she used to say. So we all thirst. Can we agree? Even though I am stubbornly saying I'm not thirsty, we all thirst. And just talking about it, I'm getting thirsty, which is kind of interesting. But so I was thinking about, okay, so the thirst for passion, for purpose, what makes us thirsty? And I started thinking about people in the world who are passionate and thirsty to fulfill that passion and what they've done with it. And then suddenly it was like, oh my gosh, there's so much out there. So we're going to have some slides, but not all, because we had a discussion about this. And so the first person that came to mind was my sister Anita. My sister Anita is an amazing actor, singer, dancer, performer in New York City. She had cancer twice. The second time, both times it was in her leg. The second time she was like, take it off of me. I want it gone. That was 1982 that her leg was amputated. She has since, my niece, her daughter, is turning 24 in the fall. The woman tap dances better than I do on an artificial limb, which is wrong in so many ways. But she's a powerful inspiration to people. She's courageous and strong, and she does Pilates and yoga and Tai Chi all on one leg and swims every day. And this summer she's going to be reprising her role as Grisabella in Cats, which I've got to tell you, the song Memory and that moment in the show takes on a whole new meaning when you've got a cat that only has 3 legs. She rises from the floor on one leg to the end of the song. Yeah. So she's got like this passion for life, and nothing slows her down. I was thinking about passion for art, and of course Vincent van Gogh is the first person that comes to mind. What a passion. And what's funny is his passion wasn't for art. He wanted to be a pastor. He wanted to serve God. He desperately wanted to serve God, and he couldn't find the way to do that. And so he kind of fell back on his painting and started painting. And then the painting became his way of quenching that thirst for God. And so it all kind of wrapped up in it. And so I was thinking about him. And then I was thinking about purpose. People on this earth whose thirst is, they're quenching their thirst by helping us find our purpose. And I thought of Dan Millman, who's done such great, amazing work. When he first wrote Way of the Peaceful Warrior, I'm not sure that he knew that it was going to become this epic thing. Not just a movie, but a way of living, an exercise program, a website, a workshop. He's awesome. And I was thinking about other people like Louise Hay and even Tony Robbins, who gets a bad rap sometimes, but the man is powerful. And when you listen to what he says, it's like, well, man, I want that. I want what he's talking about. I was thinking of people with a thirst for writing. My new favorite writer on the planet, and I guess I should tell her, I'm going to get all his books soon, is Neil Gaiman, who wrote American Gods and Coraline and so many other books. And every time I see a quote of his on Facebook, I'm like, I'm in love with this guy. He's amazing. And Annie Lamott, who writes from her heart and shares her deepest, darkest demons with us so that she can be with us and be at one with us. Salman Rushdie, who risked his life to write a book and had to go into hiding because of his passion for writing. And of course, Christopher Moore. Oh, I took him out. Christopher Moore, who wrote Lamb and is just, he's just very funny, and I love him. For sports, people with a passion and a thirst for sports, Michael Jordan and the beautiful Martina Navratilova, people who fought against odds to say, no, this is what I am, this is who I am, I need to do this, and are doing it. This next one is near and dear to my heart. This would be Todd Rundgren. He's a writer, singer. He's been writing and singing and recording and producing records since 1967. He's put out almost an album every year since that time, in addition to producing some of the biggest albums of our time. And he always does it his own way. He records all of the instruments himself most of the time. Sometimes he collaborates. Producing, self-producing. He left record labels years ago. And he's not on the radio, and he doesn't care. Because he has to. He has to do this. And he evolves. Every album is an evolution. People like Ani DeFranco and Melissa Farrick, who say, you know what? No. Record labels, I'm doing this my way. And it's that thirst. It's that thirst. For science, of course, Neil deGrasse Tyson came to mind. This man says the most amazing, brave things. And he will talk about faith and science together, and he'll bring it in a way that people can go, oh, that makes sense. And I had to interpret for him once, and I was terrified. I thought, I'm not going to be able to understand anything he's talking about. And it was completely understandable. He wants people to get it. That's his passion. Some people have a thirst and a passion for gardening. One of the ATs, one of the activity therapists at my job, she's teaching the kids at Alaska Children's Services about gardening, about raising food and flowers, and they're having wonderful bear encounters every day. Because every time they go to the garden, they're like, and there's our bear, and it happens all the time. And so she's teaching them. Recently, for a class, I had to watch An Inconvenient Truth, which I didn't want to watch because I knew it would scare me. However, watching that movie showed me that Al Gore, who I didn't really pay attention to ever before, has a great passion. And again, in the same way as Neil deGrasse Tyson, he wants you to get it. So his graphs and his pictures and his explanation of global climate change made sense to me, somebody who I wouldn't understand a graph even if my wife explained it to me. He makes it understandable. And then for health, my beloved friends Tammy and John are passionate about the work they do and keeping us healthy and keeping me alive and teaching us how to be better, how to eat better and live better and move and be better. And they're like, it's amazing, this passion. And last but not least, my mommy. Iris November. She and her husband Mort are amazing philanthropists in Cleveland, Ohio, and have donated hospitals and autism wings and libraries and schools and performance silos and just amazing projects that they're working on. And it's their passion. Nothing can stop them. He's 86. She just turned 80 last week. And there she is, my beautiful mommy. So for some people, the thirst for what they want is innate. They know it right away. They're like born and they're like, my sister Anita knew she was going to be an actress from day one. Like she was singing Broadway show tunes when she couldn't speak English. They sounded pretty funny. But, and then others of us are led to it. We live a while, we wander a while, we kind of go, all right, well, I'll do this for a while. Oh, that's not it. I'll do this for a while. Oh, that's not it. And our thirst kind of leads us to find the purpose. I was reading about Bill W. from AA and his eventual discovery of what was going to save his life. And it took a long time. This man hit so many bottoms, so many rock bottoms. I was amazed that he survived. And it was in 1940 he had actually hit what would be the bottom. And Father Edward Dowling came into his life. And he said to Bill, we all thirst. To be human is to thirst. The question is at what we direct our thirst. And Bill W. realized that he was able to change his thirst for alcohol into a thirst for alcoholics. The thirst switched to how can I help these people? And so later, Bill W. and Carl Jung, Dr. Carl Jung, had a correspondence. Carl Jung was instrumental in the forming of AA. And he suggested that the metaphor for thirst was that alcoholism he said, it involved the struggle of spiritus contra spiritum. Spirits, quote unquote, spirits, destroying the spiritual life. And how powerful to make that connection. And so Bill W. took this thirst for alcohol, transformed it into a thirst, a desire to help people discover what that thirst was about, and changed lives and is still changing lives today. So sometimes we'll feel this great thirst and we'll be like, yes, that's it, and we'll go. And other times, speaking only for myself, of course, we'll overthink it and overwork it and try to figure it out and try to make it organized and pretty and it'll become this obstacle, not realizing that the source of everything has this all figured out. We wouldn't thirst for it if we weren't supposed to quench it. In 2009, this gentleman named Dave Buchow was 29 years old, and he joined one of those wilderness survival groups to go be a wilderness survival guy. And it was one of those things where mostly people who should never be doing these things, people like me, join these things. I'm going to go do this thing. And so there they were out there, and there were guides out there who had water and stuff, but the people who had paid, check this out, $3,200 to go out into the Utah desert and be wilderness people. And so by day 2, his mission was to go find a cave with water. By day 2, he's in the blazing hot Utah desert, and Dave's in bad shape. And he needs water, and he's showing all the signs of severe hydration. He's got cramps, he's slurred speech, hallucinating. The guides are seeing this, but he hasn't asked them for water, so they're not giving it to him. It was over 100 degrees, and he had gone 10 hours without any water. And when his body finally surrendered, face down in the dirt, he died less than 100 yards from the cave that he was looking for, the cave that had water. There were 11 other hikers that day, and each guide had water on them. The hikers didn't know the guides had water on them. So they paid $3,200 to have this experience, to push himself past his limits, which is great, except that he died within a football field's distance of his goal because he didn't turn around and say, I'm thirsty. Can somebody help me? The Quran states, by means of water, we give life to everything. Dave still would have been a great warrior had he asked. So when I'm thirsty, it's okay to ask. When we're thirsty, it's okay to ask. On NPR, there was a story about trees. They're doing a study. They can hear when trees are thirsty. This was so cool. It was a team of physicists at Grenoble University in France who discovered with these high-powered microphones, they could tell the difference between when a tree was just moseying along on its own and when it was thirsty. And it makes this weird knocking sound. Trees can say they're thirsty. So sometimes it's very romantic to say, I'm thirsting for my passion. Here I go. And other times we're just plain thirsty, and it's not romantic at all. It's not glamorous in the slightest bit. It's not even noble or heroic. We're just thirsty. And it can be a great motivator to go do something. So leaning on TV and movies, yet again, I was thinking about some of the greatest moments of thirst I'd seen in movies and television, and I was thinking of the TV show Lost, which was filmed right in your backyard. And the survivors of the plane crash, if you've never seen Lost, it's about a bunch of survivors who survive a weird plane crash on a very strange island, and it's 6 seasons of oddity, and it's awesome. It's awesome. But the survivors, when they crash on the beach, the thing that they discover is they're out of water. And so they have to move to find the water. And they find water in these caves. And so for some, they were like, well, we can't leave the beach because then we won't get rescued. They have to see us on the beach. If we move to the caves, we'll never be seen again. But the other side of it was, but if we move to the caves, we'll survive. And we can thrive here and figure out a way to then get rescued. So by moving to the caves, it gave them life, and it also opened up for 5 more seasons of adventures. Needless to say, if they hadn't moved, the show would have ended quickly. Of course, the movie Life of Pi, which has been an obsession of mine now lately. And thirst comes up in that movie a lot more times than I had thought. I mean, if initially I was thinking, oh, Life of Pi, oh, he's in the lifeboat and he's thirsty. However, it actually comes up early. When Pi is young, his older brother dares him to go drink holy water out of a church. And so he runs down and he runs into the church and he sneaks a little sip of holy water. And the priest comes around the corner with a glass and he says, you must be thirsty. And the first time I watched the movie, I'm like, oh, that's cute. He got in trouble for drinking. But the priest is coming from a place of Jesus being the life-giving water. And so he sees this little boy as somebody coming into the church searching, which in fact he was. He just didn't know it. So that whole you must be thirsty statement suddenly has like depth of meaning, and it's really cool. The story of the tiger, Richard Parker. Richard Parker was... So the tiger was captured by a hunter named Richard Parker, and he captured the tiger while the tiger was drinking water, and he named him Thirsty. But on the paperwork, when he got to the zoo, the names got switched. So the hunter became named Thirsty, and the tiger became Richard Parker. So again, the word thirsty was popping in there. And then, of course, when he's on the boat, Pi writes in his journal, of hunger and thirst, thirst is the greater imperative. And then, lastly, the movie Castaway, which I love so much. And one of my favorite parts of the movie Castaway, the one with Tom Hanks years ago, is at the end when he's back home and he's driving around in his truck, he's got a case of water in the truck with him. And I think to myself, this man will never go without a bottle of water next to him again, ever. So thirst can be a great motivator. It can push us to complete something. If we know we're completing a race and there's water or fresh Gatorade at the end, if we're mowing the lawn and we know that there's a cool popsicle waiting, it's the reward. Having our thirst quenched is the reward of the passionate thirst. And so then I went down this garden path. As you can tell, it was like a labyrinth experience. So does thirst then imply lack? If we're thirsty, are we lacking? Does it mean that we're missing something? And if we feel that way, if I feel that way about my thirst for passion, my thirst for life, if I feel that I'm thirsty because I'm lacking or missing something, does it become a barrier? Do I suddenly go, it's too hard. I can't do it. It's funny. We started Spirit Stone in February, and we were very excited because every time we met, there were more people. And both of us knew in the back of our heads that at some point there was going to be a dip. But we weren't thinking about it. And 2 weeks ago when we met, and it was gorgeous outside, and we had 9 people here, I had a moment of, do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do this? I'm so thirsty for this experience. However, is this it? I'm not sure. Which is why I'm so excited to see you all here this morning. So I was thinking to myself, if I become overwhelmed by my thirst and I feel that I can't be satiated, if I can't do it, if my purpose or my mission becomes that thing that I can't do, if I feel that it's that thing that I can't do, how do I quench that thirst? And I got no answer for that. I got no answer, but I had some thoughts. And I had other people's thoughts. From the book of Matthew, blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. And I saw this as a promise. This statement seemed like a promise that when our thirst is for a higher purpose or for good works, then we will quench it. It will be satisfied. From Lemony Snicket, he said, someone feeling wronged is like someone feeling thirsty. Don't tell them they aren't. Sit with them and have a drink. And to me, this seemed to be advising us to be supportive of ourselves and others. And when that thirst becomes so strong that we start to lose hope, don't judge it. Don't try to fix it. Just be with it and provide unconditional support to ourselves and others to get through that moment. And from Khalil Gibran, would that I were a dry well and that the people toss stones into me, for that would be easier than to be a spring of flowing water that the thirsty pass by and from which they avoid drinking. And I sat with this one for a while. And what came to me was this, that it's better to be a silent friend, ready to be used in whatever way I'm called to serve, than to be a pushy one who offers, and when I'm turned down, I feel rejected. Even when I know that what I'm offering is what's needed, it's better to just let it be. So I want to close with this little story. There was a shipwrecked crew who had been drifting for days in a lifeboat. And it was off the coast of Brazil, and they were drifting, and they were so thirsty, but they couldn't drink the seawater because it was salty and it would make it worse, and so they were just desperate. And they saw a vessel coming towards them, and they called out, "Water! Water!" And the sailors on the vessel yelled, "Dip your bucket over the side." And the shipwrecked folks thought they were being mocked. But the fact was they were in fresh water. They had drifted into the Amazon. And they were totally surrounded by fresh water, ready for them to drink. So it can happen to us. This can happen to us. We can be thirsting for something, needing and wanting and desiring it. And just like in the talk about catch, if we trust, if we let go, if we open up, that which we desire is going to become visible right in front of us, all around us, because we're immersed in it. Some of you have heard the analogy before about the fish. Fish don't know they're in water. They're just in it. And so we are with spirit, or whatever word we want to call it. We're immersed in it, so we don't see it, and it's always conspiring for our good, and we don't always remember it, because like fish, we're not aware of it. Until fish are out of water. Then they're aware. So from a spiritual perspective, Dag Hammarskjöld said this: I am the vessel, the draught is God's, and God is the thirsty one. I just want to say it again. I am the vessel, the draught is God's, and God is the thirsty one. So let's keep our vessels filled. Refill the pitcher, refill the well, so that we can keep giving to others. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, the thirst for adventure is the vent which destiny offers. A war, a crusade, a gold mine, a new country speak to the imagination and offer swing and play to the confined powers. So my homework for you and for me, how do we refill our wells? What are we thirsting for? Thirsting to be, thirsting to do. And I would love it if you'd email me when those answers come, because I would love to hear them. And so we're going to pray. So just taking this moment, breathing in all that's taken place, shaking off whatever got in the way, and just breathing. Sensing the power and the presence that is Spirit, Buddha, Allah, Christ consciousness, God, Yahweh, Jehovah, the One, the Essence, the Love, the great quencher of thirsts. This is the being, the essence, the energy that flows through me and is me, breathes me, and reminds me in every moment that I am here. I am right here. And so I hold in consciousness whatever it is that each person in this room is thirsting for, thirsting to be, thirsting to do, thirsting to let go of, whatever barrier we need to jump over or knock down, whatever new exciting adventure we are welcoming in, all of it. As we thirst for it, I know that divine essence, that divine flow of energy that is all around us, that we are immersed in, I know it quenches that thirst. As soon as we ask, as soon as we say, hey, I'm thirsty, I'm ready, that energy brings forth the quenching of the thirst. And so I know as the stones are placed into the water, I know that whatever it is that was put into that stone is now released. I know that Spirit moves through each and every person here, moves through each and every desire, moves through each and every conflict, and resolves it, untangles it like a knot. I know that whatever it is that seems to be the illusion of getting in our way is actually showing us the way. It's revealing the mystery. And so I take this moment to say yes. Yes to all of it. Yes to my thirst. Yes to the passion. Yes to the purpose. Yes to each and every experience. If it's a health challenge, yes, bring it, because I'm ready. If it's an employment challenge, yes, Spirit, show me, I'm ready. Whatever it is deep within us that we thirst for, I say, yes, Spirit. Yes. Knowing that each and every person in this room, each and every person held in consciousness in this space, and all over the planet and beyond right now, is connected by this energy, this spirit, this essence, this power, this presence that says yes back when we say yes. And so I bless this. I bless this day, I bless this message, and I bless each and every person here. So grateful, so grateful, so grateful. And so it is. Amen, Ashe, Ashe.